Back again with another podcast for you guys. And this time, we're with Matt Quinn, one of our athletes. And before we start, I would ask you, the viewer, to let us know how many of these podcasts you would like in a month. We are currently looking at bi-weekly with other content in between. Now, on to the show. Welcome to Chaos and Pain TV. I'm your host, Bryce Allen, and before we start, you can find more information on the team as well as a supplement line over at chaosandpain.com. Now, I'm speaking today with Matt Quinn. Hey, what's up, Matt?
Not much.
We've done this before, as this is the second take. We're totally professionals, though. A question that had popped up on my Facebook wall because I joined the group Powerlifters. It's quite common nowadays. You hear about people worrying about footwear. You know, and I guess that's just the little edge they can get on weight. What do you think about that?
I don't think there's really an edge. My, I guess, outlook on it is, some people squat in chucks. On the other hand, I use Addy Power Ollie shoes just because of the slight elevated heel. I have horrible ankle flexibility. It could be from all the football injuries, but if I'm in chucks, when I try to hit in the hole, my heel actually raises up. So I have to have the elevated heel to keep that from happening so I can keep my heels planted on the ground. So I don't really see the shoes make an advantage either way. So
yeah. Well, myself, I switched from your old generic running shoes, which are, in my opinion now, complete and utter crap to squat and deadlift in. They're absolutely...
Definitely don't want to deadlift in a shoe that's got an elevated heel because it'll get you out on your toes and get you out over the weight. And then that way, it just it throws your form all out of whack.
Yeah, especially with taller guys. I'm 6'5", and it was, for one, creating bad habits. I have a tendency to tip forward as it is because of just my leverages. But in those fucking running shoes, let me tell you something. Butt Wink City.
There's one thing to do that I used to do, because when I first started powerlifting, front deadlift was kind of new to me because in high school we deadlifted, but we straddled. That's something they taught, I guess, high school athletes, I guess because it was better for their back and stuff because you're kind of over the weight rather than having to weigh it out in front of you. So, but I struggled with, really getting on my toes. So I started taking 5-pound plates and sticking under my toes when I deadlift. That way it forces me to sit back on my heels.
So kind of a way to force heel drive.
Yep.
Well, I just switched to a flat-soled shoe, and I can say that I much prefer that over my old pair of running shoes, I guess because it makes me feel like there's more power transfer, and that's kind of what I'm hearing from everybody else is there's more power transfer, but does it matter that much really? You're the guy that does competitions.
Yeah, like I said before, with the elevated heel, it's going to have you out of position, as soon as you start your pull, just because you're already leaning forward because of the elevated heel. I see some guys use the slippers, which I've tried them. It's like lifting in your socks, but the slippers have a sole on the bottom. Well, if that's what you want to call it, but it's got some type of grip on the bottom. So it's basically like lifting barefooted. So you actually have to pull about a half an inch less than a guy wearing a pair of chucks. But I prefer chucks just because, like you said, you can really get that more force, behind your pull.
Yeah, and I think that for even beginners, it would be a good idea to invest in a pair of, even your generic flat-soled shoes from Walmart. I guess they'd be Vans clones or whatever.
Yeah. Kids, or I guess that was for kids.
Yeah. No, Faded Glory is the brand that I've got right now, and they were $8 because I'm a cheap bastard. But, whatever works. It's just much more comfortable to me now that I've actually experienced that, and it's kind of weird that that's popped up within the last couple of years because, I mean, before there wasn't really, I mean, was there really that much talk about footwear when it comes to powerlifting? I mean, you'd think people just went in there and lift some heavy-ass weights, you know? Didn't matter the shoes they're wearing. I mean, that was kind of the thing, the emphasis before this whole footwear thing started. And now you've got, you know, CrossFit shoes that are $120, and you've got all these shoes that are like, fuck, I've seen $150 pair.
My Addy Powers, my Addy Power Olympic shoes, they were $217.
Well, see, I'm way too fucking cheap for that, but it's okay. Speaking of cheap, how much did your home gym cost you? I mean, if people are not following this guy on Instagram, I highly suggest it because he has one badass little garage setup, dungeon setup, as I like to refer to it. So how much did that cost?
I'll probably say, really, I don't have a whole lot. I mean, if you look at what I have, you would probably think I had, you know, $6,000-$7,000 worth of stuff.
Yeah.
But really, excuse me, I've just done bargain shopping. I found about 1,100 pounds of weight for $300 when I first started. The most of my money are in my bars. I have 3 competition, but well, they're Texas bars. I got a competition squat bar and a competition deadlift bar, and then I also have a Texas power bar that I use for bench. So I probably got close to $1,500 just in those 3 bars, and everything else I probably paid $200 or less for.
Yeah.
And some things have been given to me.
Well, I mean, speaking of that stuff, I mean, do you think those different kind of bars really matter when it comes down to powerlifting? I know a lot of guys are switching to the Texas bars just because, you know, you can build more strength on them, I guess. I mean, I'm not a powerlifter, but, I mean, I know a little bit about
it. Well, I mean, it's you know, you kind of want to, you know, practice the way you're going to play. As far as the type of bars for what lift, that matters tremendously because, you know, the Texas deadlift bar has some whip to it, what they call it. You know, so you're able, as you pull, the bar is already bending before the weight actually starts to move.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier. I really don't want to say easier, but I mean, I guess it kind of is than deadlifting on a stiff gym bar.
Yeah.
That right there, I mean, it's just like pulling dead weight. You know, there's no slack coming out of the bar whatsoever. And then, excuse me, then the Texas squat bar, it's a little bit thicker, so it doesn't really want to roll on your back. It's got the knurling in the middle, so it actually grips onto your shirt. And, you know, it's not real middle, so it doesn't like slide around like a gym bar would. And it's 8 foot long instead of 7 foot long.
Well, man, I don't buy my equipment, so I don't know crap all about that. But I can say that the knurling definitely does matter, especially when you're, you know, at the bottom portion of a deadlift when you're getting your grip. You know, I mean, I've had the unfortunate experience of playing with some rather slippery bars in commercial gyms, anyway. But
yeah, I've been to our warm up bars were fairly slippery.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you think commercial gyms could? I mean, in my opinion, commercial gyms should have some pretty good knurling on those bars. Otherwise, I mean, aren't they enforcing injury? I don't know. That's just me. I've seen fucking heavy loads slip out of guys' hands from that shit. Pisses me off.
Yeah.
But
a lot of commercial gyms, you know, they really frown on some of the stuff that we do as powerlifters. Yeah. You know, of course, most gyms don't allow chalk, and if you got slick ass bars, I mean, you definitely need chalk. If not, you're just gonna have to use straps every time you're training, and will lead to grip issues. You know, if you train your whole prep using straps, then you get into the meet, you know, your grip isn't going to be where it needs to be, and you'll probably lose a weight due to your grip. And a commercial gym was the reason that I actually decided to start my own home gym, other than my wife, you know, bitching at me about working all day and then being gone to the gym for 2 hours, you know, as soon as I get home. But I was actually training at a local gym here, and I bent one of their squat bars, or one of their bars squat. And it wasn't a bad bend. It was just a slight bend, but, you know, and then they got kind of mad about it and told me that that was the only bar that I was allowed to squat with or deadlift with. And anybody who does deadlift knows you can't deadlift with a bent bar. And I was getting ready for the LA Fit Expo 2 years ago, and I was doing my top set. I think it was like 635 or something. And I tried to, every time I was working out with that bent bar, I would try to make sure that the bend was facing up so the bar wouldn't roll on me. And 635, when I got right about to my knees, I guess the bend was down and the bar rolled and it jerked me forward, and I just dropped it because that's one way to, tear your back up real easy.
Yeah.
So I actually went to the owner of the gym and offered to split a Texas deadlift bar with him. I said, anybody else could use it. I just needed one in there. And he told me no, so I told him to cancel my membership. And that's whenever I started looking for stuff for my house.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you mean by that. And I'm sorry you had that experience at a commercial gym. But more and more commercial gyms are going that route. And that pisses me off, too. I mean, besides the obvious one that everybody points to, Planet Fitness, there are other commercial gyms and even smaller gyms like fitness centers and stuff that, teenagers that are, training for football, or, even college athletes that are training for football, or, other sports. Football's on my mind for some reason. Just got done watching some of the combine today. But, you have athletes that go in there and are serious about their physique, and then you have everybody else, which is obviously their target members, because they can gain fucking money from them without, it can just sit in their wallet. But they're starting to frown against lifting heavy, and I mean, at what point does it become a bad thing? I know a lot of guys and create a bad name for it, by just like fucking slamming the bars down on purpose and shit like that, purposely breaking equipment. But I mean, if you're going to lift 600, I mean, you're not gonna set that thing down gently,
Right.
But that's a little rant we'll save for later. I was just wondering how much all that stuff cost you. I mean, what I would suggest everybody do, and we had talked about this before, is going to Craigslist and kind of, you can get a cheap weight set on there for next to nothing compared to the retail prices, that is.
Man, I found a leg press there that just needed to be repadded for $200.
Yeah, I mean, how can you pass something up like that? And you get the convenience of working out in your own garage. I mean, that's one thing I bet you like about working out from home, isn't it? Your own schedule. So, worry about
then during the summer, I got both the doors up, kids are running around. I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. If I'm in there doing bench, they're over there putting chalk on their hand and wanting to deadlift, the bar and stuff. So it's good to, excuse me, it's good to, to get them involved at an early age too. And, they enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, I just know that I want my daughter to get into it, but she's still convinced that lifting heavy weights is going to make her masculine. But that's okay. That's another common misconception out there. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't think that lifting heavy is going to make a woman look masculine. I think the stuff that she puts in her body while lifting heavy is what makes them look masculine. If you know what I mean.
I get what you mean. I mean, you can go ahead and say it. I mean, anabolic steroids have that effect on women. But lifting doesn't. Lifting actually, something, I was watching this other talk show on YouTube, of course, about bodybuilding and powerlifting. Actually, a female powerlifter and a female bodybuilder were talking, and they actually said that it made their tits look perkier, which, hey, that's a plus, right?
Yeah. My wife actually said the same thing, because when I first started this, she actually come down there and she was doing some of the machine stuff that I have, wanting to get back into shape and lose the baby weight. And then I think once she got to where she was satisfied, she just kind of stopped.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, there's another recommendation there. I mean, for lifting for women. Your wife, I mean, it's certainly, there's a lot better understanding of it nowadays than, a couple years ago, where everybody was doing fucking yoga and Pilates and all that I mean, I'm not against anything that gets you, up and active. But I mean, come on, put down the pink weights. Pick up a barbell. Do some squats. Get that nice ass everybody's wanting.
I think genetics have a lot to do with it, with females too. I mean, my daughter, she's 13 and she's got broad shoulder. I mean, if you grab a hold of her upper arm, and also she's on an all-star gymnastics team and she's a base, so she does a lot of lifting as far as the girls go. But she's also very. I mean, she's just fit. I mean, she's got a six-pack. I mean, she's got lines in her quads. She also runs track, but. I mean, she definitely has my genetics as far as muscular build.
Yeah. And a lot of people think that they're going to turn into... And, that's another thing that kind of bugs me about, quick results. Always quick results. I mean, how long did it take you to get to... I mean, what are you squatting now?
My best competition lift is 730, and my best gym lift is 740.
I mean, you didn't walk into that gym and get that overnight now, did you?
Oh no! Actually, I squatted 605 my senior year in college, and that was, of course, it was a little bit higher than what we go as far as powerlifting standards as far as depth.
Right.
But it was without wraps, because college athletes don't wear knee wraps. We just belt up, and you got somebody yelling and smacking you in the face, and there you go.
You're young. That's all you need.
Yeah, and then after I was done playing football, I didn't see a need in really squatting heavy for several years. And when I actually started powerlifting I started my first program February of 2013. This is actually going on my third year. Well, I guess it's been 3 years. And my first squat max was 455.
Damn.
So in 3 years, but also I was 218 at the time, and now I'm 265.
Yeah. Well, shit, you got some weight on you, man. You weigh more than I do. So, but I mean, shit, yeah. But people expect these instant results, and when they don't get that instant gratification, I mean, that's the difference between you and I and the general public is. We stuck with it, and over time we got those results that everybody's wanting overnight. But
right, and that's what a lot of people they'll try a program and they expect instant results, but then they don't give the program time to actually do its job. So then they switch to something else, and then they never get the program time to work. All these there's really not a program better than the other. You just have to find which one suits your capabilities as far as volume and stuff, because they're all set up to build you up, over a 10 to 12 time span. And if you don't give it time to do that, you're really just wasting your time bouncing around from program to program.
And I mean, there are the other programs. I mean, I guess this is more bodybuilding oriented, which is my wheelhouse. That are linear. They have linear programs, which sometimes stall more than you'd like. But I mean, still, just get with a program and stick with it. And over time, you will have the results. I mean, the best thing I can suggest for a beginner is just to find a program that suits your time constraints, first of all. Because I didn't even, that wasn't even in my mind when I first started lifting. Because time was just something that was there. I had all the time in the world, and I spent, I mean, I'm not going to lie, like 4 hours in the fucking gym spinning my wheels. I mean, but we've all been there. What advice would you give to a new lifter, man? I mean, that's mine. I just tell them to get with a program and stick with it.
That's what I say to people too, because I guess for a while it was ridiculous. Like I was getting like 100 Facebook messages a day of people asking advice. What program should I use? What supplements should I take? I want to gain mass. I want to do this. I want to do that. And basically, I told them, I was like, it's really not about the supplements you take. It's what you eat. It's how you eat. Right. You got to put the right fuel in your body for what you're doing. You wouldn't put $10 of gas in your truck to drive to California. So that's what I try to explain to people. I was like, you've got to fuel your body. If you're doing a very strenuous workout, you need the calories to give your body the energy to do that. And then I tell them too, I was like, find a program and stick with it. Trust the program. Don't quit halfway through because you're not seeing the results. Give it the whole 10 to 12 weeks. If you don't like the results you see, then try another program. Or if it's too strenuous for you or not good enough, you can play with a lot of these programs. None of them are set in stone. You can, as long as you kind of follow the same template that they have, you can adjust some of the stuff. You can add more accessory work. You can add in some extra secondary movements. Things like that.
You can add in all the bro curls you want. You really can. A little bit of pump work never hurt anybody. But my second piece of advice for new lifters, try and do the least that you can. A lot of people are concentrated with these long workouts and drop sets till you can't move, and running marathons like within their first week. But my second best advice is stick with that program and pick a program that has you do the least amount of work to get results. Because here you are, you're squatting 700 whatever, you're squatting 700 plus, and you have to do a shit ton of volume in order to make yourself grow and progress.
Yeah. See, my program is front loaded. As far as volume goes, and then the farther I get into the program, the volume starts to cut out, and then that's when the weight really starts to go up. And it's kind of set up. I peak twice during my 12-week training cycle. Like I'm about 6 to 7 weeks in, I'm really strong, and then everything kind of resets, and I go back down, and then I get some more volume in, and then I peak again right around meet time. It's usually around week 11 or 12.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like a solid program, but, you wish you could go back to doing 4 sets of something and seeing instant progress, don't you? Adding those 10 to 15 pounds a week off of doing, some shit. Not even nothing. Not even spending 30 minutes in the gym. I wish I could progress by not even... fuck, if I could do, 3 sets of curls and progress as much as I did back when I first started, I'd fucking kill for that. But I can't. My volume is insane. Comparatively, it's not like I spend 12 hours in there. But I certainly do have a lot more volume than I started. And, when it comes to being a newbie, you don't need to pile volume on top of volume. Just concentrate on your big 3. Pick a program that has, squat, bench, deadlift, and start with those 3, and you know what? Fuck. Do those 3, 3 days a week. You will see tons of gains without needing to do that pump work that you need to do later. To get my quads grow, I need to go ahead and add extras on top of extras, But,
and towards the end of my program, there's basically I go in, I work up to my top set on my main movement for the day. I do a drop set, or not really a drop, a secondary movement. Like say if I'm doing deadlift, then I may do either block pulls or I'll do deficit pulls, and then I'll do one accessory movement, and that's it. Because I've about 9 to 10 weeks in, I'm really not going to get any stronger before that meet than I am at that point. At that point, it's just maintaining and letting my body recover from the 9 weeks of hell I've just put it through. So the accessory, that's why there's really no need for accessory work that late into the program.
Yeah. But, speaking of that, you mentioned something about deficit deadlifts. A lot of people use that to improve their deadlifts. Have you had any issues with the big 3, and how have you overcome those?
Oh, yeah. My squat still isn't where I want it to be as far as my form goes. I still haven't found my groove, I guess you could say, on squat. I've played with it here and there. Because when I first started powerlifting, I was a high bar squatter. And then once I got right around 700 pounds, it really started rolling me over. And I was losing a lot of weight because it was, the bar was just too high. So I switched to low bar. My weight dropped down quite a bit. And then it got to the point to where I had an injury, and I kind of was trying to play around with my stance to still be able to train without, that injured muscle hurting during my sessions,
Right.
and I mean, it's still sometimes like I had trouble with my knees collapsing in whenever I was coming up out of the hole, and I still have that from time to time. But I've really worked on trying to get it better. As far as deadlift goes, man, that's just my lift. Um, I've,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have perfect form by any means, but when I grab a hold of that weight, it's coming up.
It's just one of those things you feel like you were meant to do. I mean,
Yeah.
just like weighted pull-ups for me, but we'll expand on that here in a bit later because I'll ask you that question like I did the first time. We got to re-record this thing. Haha, my fuck up. But as for bench, have you ever had any problem benching?
The only really issue I've had with benching is just my elbows. As far I don't know if it's bicep tendonitis, elbow tendonitis, whatever. It
Yeah,
just flares up, and there's really nothing. There's, I mean, pushing doesn't hurt. It's when you're trying to come down, you get about 4 to 5 inches off your chest, and your elbow just gives out. That nerve or whatever that's messed up in there, it just says, "Fuck it, I'm done."
yeah. Well, I mean, for a lot of guys, it's either the shoulder or the elbow. So, I mean, you're not the minority there. So,
Yeah.
a lot of guys have problems, with that sharp stinging pain in their shoulder, and it turns out they're flaring their elbows too much. Have you ever had something where you've tweaked it just a little bit, where it really put some progress back into the lift?
Oh yeah, definitely. On my bench, I felt I got kind of stagnant, with where I was at on my bench, and I just widened my grip out about an inch, and then brought the bar down maybe an inch farther down where I touched at. Now I touched at the bottom of my sternum, and that really helped me get my elbows tucked in as I was coming down with the weight because I had a problem. I was having a problem with flaring my elbows too early. And that was really getting me out of my groove on bench because when you start to flare your elbows, the weight is automatically going to shoot back over your face. So by me bringing the bar down farther when I touch, it allowed my elbows to stay in longer on the press, and then now they're flaring at the right time.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna answer that same thing, that same question. I mean, I've had sticking problems in the squat. I found that working on my ass has glutes have really improved my squat because I mean hamstrings. That's all you usually hear about when it comes to what can I do to strengthen my squat because a lot of people add extra hamstring work because it just makes sense. But I have overpowered hamstrings. I can say that. I mean, I used to run and stuff like that, and my hamstrings are just like built. You know,
Mhm.
it happened to be I have this rare disease called no acetol, and really have to work on that. Really have to concentrate on squeezing the glutes on the top of the deadlift. Even having, or I'm sorry, squat, and having to actually switch one of my squat or my lower body days to which I do squat and deadlift on that day because I'm a brave individual. Um, I had to switch my deadlift to stiff-legged deadlift, and that's really allowed me to progress in my squat. Now, as for the deadlift, I've always had problems getting it off the floor. I've always had problems just ripping it off the floor, kind of putting myself into the position to do it because I'm 6'5". I mean, I don't
Yeah.
like using excuses like that, but I mean, at a certain point, it's true. Um, whether I think it's it has to do with my leverages and one thing that I have found to be true recently is those people that you see at the gym, you think they're just psyching themselves up by raising their hands in the air and kind of mimicking them grabbing onto the bar. No, that's a mental cue, and people really do underestimate those. You know,
Oh yeah.
mental cues and physical cues. Packing your shoulder. I mean, that's a physical cue that I use for the bench press that has helped me helped me a lot. As well as I mean, pack my shoulders more than I usually would. I mean, really concentrate on the shoulder blades squeezing together. Um,
Yeah.
but as for the bench, like I just said, squeezing those shoulder blades together, like I mean, I'm trying to crush a grapefruit between them. you know, has really helped my bench, as well as stop listening to everybody because, like I said, I have long arms and long limbs. Stop listening to everybody, and kind of widen my grip out to the point where it's ridiculous for most people, but perfect for me. But, like I said, I was going to mention earlier, that lift that you feel like you're meant to do, deadlift. Have you ever had problems with the deadlift? I know you said you had some problems coming off the floor.
No, my lockout.
Because
my speed off the floor is great. There's no weight that I've grabbed a hold of. Yeah, there's no weight that I've grabbed a hold of that I haven't got to my knees in a hurry. And I tried to switch my deadlift up because a lot of times my speed off the floor was getting me out of position for my lockout. And so when I tried to switch it up and really kind of slow it down and just really focus on sitting back and pulling the weight up, man, my deadlift suffered tremendously. So at that point, I was like, fuck it. I'm going back to just gripping and ripping. Really I really started to hit deficit pulls real hard again because I lost a lot of my speed because I wasn't focused on that. And majority of the time, the speed is going to help you, get through the lift.
Yeah. I mean, I've had problems ripping it off the ground, like I had mentioned. And, the deadlift is such a complex movement. I mean, really, it's simple in thought, I mean, it's just get the weight off the floor. And a lot of people think of it that way, but you have no idea how complex the deadlift is until you're at the top of the lift with that bar in your hands saying, holy shit, I did this, with like 600 pounds on the bar.
Just like you said, with on bench, those mental cues, whenever I get up on the platform, we're ready to deadlift, I set my feet, I sit up, take a deep breath, let it out. I go down, I grab the bar, give it a good hard jerk, roll my elbows in to load my lats, what they call it. It helps really keep your back, rigid.
Yeah.
And then, pump my hips. Some guys will just pull. I kind of throw my ass up in the air, and as I'm throwing my ass back down is when I'll start my pull, almost like a teeter-totter or a pendulum,
Right.
And that's my mental way of, getting the weight up.
Well, speaking of mental ways, I mean, do you have anything that psychs you up before you lift? I mean, I know I see a lot of guys, unfortunately, who are lifting, using nose torque every time, which, by the way, guys, needs to stop. Don't abuse that stuff. But, yeah, I've seen someone almost passed out because they've used it at my gym. Way too many times or too much of a deep breath.
Yeah.
But
I like those. I only use it for heavy weights. There's no need in hitting nose torque for 405 on deadlift.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I mean, if that's their heavy weight, yeah, then by all means, toot it up. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, don't use it for every fucking lift.
Right.
I see some guys in gyms now, commercial gyms, that, just fucking abuse the shit out of it. Like, they're sitting there on the bench, taking a whiff of it, and they'll go for squats, and then they'll do it for curls, and then they'll do it for bench press, and then by the end of it, I mean, they look like they're about to pass out. It's powerful stuff, people. But, man, we got off track there.
About what's up.
Yeah.
I just, in my younger years, I guess my late teens and early 20s, I was a very angry adolescent, which football helped me control a lot of that, and I would just keep it all in and just release it, when I was on the football field.
Yeah. And
then now, as I've gotten older, I've kind of just switched that over to powerlifting. Like, I don't let things fuck with me the way I used to, before, man, if somebody smart off to me, I'd punch them right in the throat, not think twice about it. But now, I have a family, I have a job, I have a mortgage. That's shit that I think about, when somebody smarts off. So I just kind of let it slide. But I still keep it, I keep it in the back of my head, and it comes out for deadlift day.
Yeah.
And whenever I get up there, I just think about everything that's pissed me off since the last time I deadlift. And I still think about shit that happened years ago that still pisses me off. And I just bottle all that up and then I just unleash it, whenever I'm about ready to deadlift.
You know what the psychology term for that is?
What?
Mental masturbation. Now, normally, it's when you think about something over and over again. And normally, people would, psychologists suggest not even doing it. But, I felt that it is one of the most powerful tools. I got bullied in school. Wah, poor me. But still, I think about kicking their ass every fucking day. And just going into the gym and kind of putting my headset on. Music is another powerful tool for me. I've seen some of your videos. Is for you as well, correct?
Do what?
Music being a powerful tool for you?
Oh, yeah. It's got to be some hate shit most of the time, if I'm really lifting some heavy weight.
Yeah. Well, I've found that concentrating on the inner angers, inner demons, have also been a powerful tool for me. But I think that's where we're going to leave it, guys. And if you'd like to hear more from Matt Quinn, just let us know, please, in the comment section below. And if you have any other suggestions for podcast or any guests that you'd like on the podcast, go ahead and let us know in the suggestion box, aka comment section below. And I will have a link to your Instagram in the description box. And I will also have your discount code, which is
Quinn20.
Quinn20. You heard it here first. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, go ahead and like the video. If you disliked it, you can take a walk off a long pier.
And eat a bag of dicks.
Yeah, eat a bag of dicks. The whole bag, not just one. You can't choose how many dicks you can eat. If you dislike this video, god damn it.
You're getting them all.
Yep. But it's okay. Go ahead and share this video. It helps us out. And stay tuned for the next one.